Hi, serious topic. So one of you guys asked if I could share some of the best ways to help a loved one who is going through mental health struggles based on my experience. I've been through some very dark periods in my life where I had zero motivation.
I don't know what it is. I've just I have no motivation.
I contemplated ending things, I planned to end things, and I saw myself in some critically intense crisis situations which saw me hospitalized a couple of times. But here I am, still here today, and thankfully doing much better. Of course, there are times when I find myself slipping back into those struggles, but I've learned strategies to manage my emotions, and most importantly, I am very lucky to have friends and family who are very supportive. So I also, in planning this video, asked for their advice. I also asked for your advice on Instagram about their thoughts on supporting a loved one who is struggling. So hopefully for those of you out there who have a friend, a family member, a colleague, or anyone who is struggling, that this is somewhat helpful. Understand and research. There are so many types of mental illnesses out there, and as someone who has struggled with particular disorders, I find it very helpful when friends and family actually understand what that illness is, whether that is depression, anxiety, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, etc. That way, as a loved one, you have the knowledge of what the symptoms and traits are, and hopefully that will adequately prepare you to be supportive during moments of crisis. You are not the solution. It's a very cliche quote, but you can only help those who want to be helped. Don't weigh yourself down trying to fix them or their illness. If it were as easy as that, we would live in a pretty happy world. And also understand that it isn't your job to fix them anyway. You're not a trained psychologist. But instead, what you can do is listen and be supportive. Let them know that you can lend an ear and be supportive of them on their journey. There have been many times when I've been in crisis mode, and just being able to spam my friends in our group chat and tell them how I'm feeling has been really helpful and cathartic. And it's just nice to know that there is someone there who will truly listen. Understand what does and doesn't help them. So there are some things that you might do or say that will trigger an opposite reaction to what you're hoping for. For example, my family used to do things, and they still do actually, which they thought was helpful, but would actually trigger me even more and make me feel irritated and smothered. So maybe for you, it might be a bit of a trial and error situation where you're kind of scoping out what seems to be beneficial and just be aware of your actions and whether they cause an unwanted response. Or it could be as easy as just simply asking them, is there anything that I'm doing that makes you feel worse? Or is there anything I can do to make you feel better? Remind them of what they mean to you. I think there's a lot of people out there who struggle with social isolation and loneliness. So reminding them of what they mean to you is really important, just so they know that they're not alone. And I think this point is really important, not just for people who are struggling with mental health. Make sure to just check in with your friends and your family, because at the end of the day, we all want to feel loved. It's human nature. Share what you love. We often misjudge how much influence we have on other people. Just by sharing what you love can inject some positive energy into their life. There is another cliche saying, which is misery loves company. So a lot of people who might be struggling with their mental health might be actively seeking out negative content, which in turn breeds their negative emotion. So by sharing your positive energy and your passions in life, hopefully it will influence them towards the light, even just a little bit. Spend time with them. So one thing that I'm appreciating a lot more, especially in the last year or so, is spending quality time with friends and family. There are so many things to do in life, and often it can be a lot more enjoyable if you're doing it with someone you love. Going for hikes, learning new languages, creating art. By doing them with your loved ones, you're giving them a break from their negative emotions, a distraction, if you will, and also at the same time creating cherished memories. I personally recommend doing physical activities, hikes, rock climbing, dance classes, because exercise is really good for your mental health. The science is there. It gives you all the good chemicals like serotonin and endorphins. And there's nothing more that we love to do as a depressed person than laying in bed being a burrito. So having friends who push you to do something physical is very healthy and it's very important. Let them know that their emotions are valid. It's okay for them to feel how they feel. The thing with life is that there's always going to be waves. Negative emotions have to be felt, they have to be experienced. Without negative emotions, we wouldn't know what positive emotions are, and in that case, we might as well just be robots. But we're not, we're human. Some people might struggle more when the waves hit, and they might be submerged under the waves for longer than we'd like them to be. But just let them know that it's okay. You're not there to judge them for how they feel. Their emotions are completely valid. In moments of crisis, don't be afraid to call for help. As someone who has had emergency services called on me during a crisis mode, I completely hated it in the moment. But in retrospect and in the bigger picture, I understand how it can save someone's life. So if your loved one is going through an intense crisis, if they're talking about ending things, if they're communicating with you in a way that worries you, and if you think that something bad is going to happen and you don't have the resources or the knowledge to help them or be there and support them in person, then don't be afraid to call for help. They might hate you, despise you in that moment, but in the long run, it's all about their safety. Check in on your own mental health. I understand that supporting a loved one with mental health struggles can be absolutely draining, but just know that you can only help them if you are in a good mental headspace too. So make sure you check in on your own mental health. How are you feeling? How are you dealing with things? What are your limits? Know your limits and take some time to self-soothe, relax, and look after yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Look, mental illnesses are no joke. They're so complex and there's so much science behind it. Like, our brains are intricate and complicated things. So obviously we don't always have all the knowledge to fully comprehend and understand the workings of a mind. So if you do find that you don't know how to offer help or support, there are communities and groups out there for people like you who are supporting someone with mental health illnesses. And if you're struggling and need support, these communities are great ways to reach out, connect, and ask for help. I also asked you guys on Instagram how you support a loved one, so I'm going to read out some of your responses and hopefully they will help others out there in the community. Truly listening always helps. It may sound selfish, but I first check in with myself and set boundaries on what I can give. Being present and listening intently to the vents and rants without making the person feel inferior. Remind them you're there for them and you'll always be a shoulder or ear to them, but also remind them you're not a qualified therapist and can't offer advice, but will support them in their choice. Take them out for a meal or shopping. Listen and never judge. Ask questions rather than making assumptions. Don't say harsh things as facts, but rather as opinions or questions. Be prepared to give a hug or to hold hands, but never force it. Actually, never force anything, any statements, any questions, any actions. So those were my tips and advice that I consolidated from my friends, my family, from you guys on Instagram. If you have any more advice or tips about how to support a loved one who is going through a mental health crisis, mental health struggles, anything mental health related, please leave them in the comments below. And if you have a spare 30 seconds right now, which I know you do, hurry up, pick up your phones, open your Messenger app, and just let your friends and family know how much you mean to them. It can really brighten up their day. And I'm going to tell you guys right now that I am incredibly blessed to have you guys join me on my life journey, and that wherever you are in the world right now, you chose to click on this video, and in doing so, hopefully learn some advice and tips on how to share your positive energy with your close circle of friends and family. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for that. Thank you guys so much for your love and support, and I will see you guys in my next video.